Welcome to the lesson on understanding FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. This slideshow has been adapted from a Student Affairs Professional Development presentation, which was originally given on November 18th of 2015. What is FERPA? Can you name a word in the FERPA acronym? FERPA stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It gives universities direction on what student information is protected and also notes what information may be given out. This type of information is called directory information. Finally, FERPA gives students the rights to view their records. Who asks for information which is protected by FERPA? Take a moment to consider the following options: parents, the student, campus personnel, or evil villains. Even though sometimes it can feel like there might be evil villains lurking and waiting to get their hands on student information, generally, it's parents, the student, and campus personnel who are asking for information that might be protected by FERPA. Understanding FERPA can help alleviate the paranoia that makes us feel like there are those evil villains out there waiting to get their hands on information that we have access to. Goals. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the purpose of FERPA, know the difference between education records and directory information, identify legitimate educational interests, explain the importance of FERPA in your role, know the consequences for violating FERPA, and accurately interpret responses to example scenarios. Protections and rights under FERPA. FERPA prohibits the release of non-directory student information to a third party without written consent from the student. It also protects student rights. It allows students to inspect their education record, allows students to request an amendment to education records to correct information, and gives students the right to file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education. What is an education record? Those records directly related to a student and maintained by the institution or by a party acting for the institution are considered education records. This includes, but is not limited to, grades and transcripts, financial aid information, student conduct records, bills and charges, and advising notes. What is not an education record? Sole possession notes, like personal memory joggers, are not considered part of the education record. This is true only as long as these notes do not include something that is protected as an educational record and are not accessible or revealed to any other person. Other pieces of information that are not considered part of an education record are law enforcement records, employment records, physician records or treatment records, and counseling records. So what is directory information, or that information which may be given out? The following are generally considered benign if disclosed: name, address, email, major, enrollment, and honors. However, the items on the following list are not directory information and cannot be released: Social Security numbers or student ID numbers, class schedules, grades and transcripts, and financial information. Overall, just use caution and common sense when responding to requests for student information. Do avoid FERPanoia, or that idea that evil villains are waiting to get their clutches on student information. Please don't use FERPA as a crutch by saying things like, "Oh, sorry, I can't talk to you about this." Do use your knowledge of FERPA to impress your boss and the people that you're working with by listening, interpreting, and informing. We can listen to anyone, students, parents, or others, when they have questions. And then we can interpret by slowing down and learning what the person really is asking and translating how it relates to our office or to the university at large. Finally, we can inform by letting the person know what the general policy or procedure is and letting them know that we can investigate and will reply to the student's UW email address. Legitimate educational interests. What is it? Some UW employees have legitimate educational need for access to student information. This is the information that we need to access in order to do our jobs and to serve students. Legitimate educational interests are limited only to those students over which we have direct responsibility. That means that we can't access student information just to satisfy curiosity. For example, we can't access the information of our spouse or our children just because we want to know what their GPA is or how they're doing in their classes, unless they are actually on our caseload or are under our direct responsibility in our roles as professional academic advisors or faculty members. We can't access their information. Why is FERPA important to faculty and staff? If we violate FERPA, we could jeopardize the institution, we might have our access to student records removed, and we could lose our jobs. FERPA violations could also result in a loss of federal financial aid for our students, including a loss of federal research dollars for the entire institution. Overall, we want to use our knowledge of FERPA to avoid exceptions and lawsuits. We want to take good care of our students and protect their information, while still being able to respond to and answer questions that students, academic personnel, and parents might have. Do you have questions now, or questions at any time when you're working with a student? There's wonderful information about FERPA on the Office of the Registrar's website. You can also contact the Office of the Registrar or the Dean of Students' office at the information listed on this slide. If you are ever in doubt, even during a phone call or in the middle of an advising appointment, please feel free to contact one of the offices above. Now that you've watched this video, please take the FERPA quiz to test your knowledge of how to apply FERPA in a variety of scenarios.